Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first live stream for the Summer ArtSnacks Quarterly Box. I wanted to talk a little bit about how we used to be streaming on Zoom and then posting to YouTube afterward. And now we're going straight to YouTube. So, very exciting. And because of that, we might have some new people attending. And I wanted to give a little bit more of a well rounded intro to ArtSnacks. So ArtSnacks is a art supply subscription box, and let me show you. I have a box here. So every quarter, we send out a box that has 4 to 6 full size premium art supplies. And it is a discovery box. So it's always a surprise what you're getting in it. And although every quarter there is a little bit of a sneak peek that we usually put out on social media. So you may know one of the products coming. But other than that, it's a surprise. So it's really fun, especially if you like learning new techniques and discovering new supplies. So that is a little bit of the background of what Art Snacks is. And there's this is the quarterly box, like I would say the Art Snacks quarterly box. And it's more, I don't want to call it the basic box because it's way beyond basic. But it is like the general art snacks box. So it could have anything from like any area of art, whether it be like paint, pastel, drawing, um, like watercolor. It could really have anything in it from any area, like any discipline. And then Art Snacks does offer watercolor snacks, which is watercolor specific, and then they do art journal snacks, which is art journaling specific. And so the Art Snacks Quarterly could have some watercolor supplies in it sometimes, could have something like you might see in an art journal snacks, but there are dedicated subscriptions for those interests as well. And then something else is that there are 3 to 4 live streams per quarter. And so that is where I come in. So I work with Art Snacks. I'm one of the resident artists for their team, and I work specifically with the Art Snacks quarterly box. So 3 to 4 times per quarter, you'll see me here on stream to talk about the supplies in the box, give you some tips on how to use them, answer any questions, and give you some jumping off points for projects and tutorials and really anything you guys are interested in. So, who am I? My name is Caitlin. On some social platforms, you'll see me as Caterbug or Caterbug Studios. And I'm a multidisciplinary artist. Academically, my background is in art education and computer graphics. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been doing mixed media illustration. And I also do a lot of like creative word art, and I really like drawing anything that has to do with outer space and my dog. So that's what you'll see a lot if you look me up maybe on Instagram or something. You'll see a lot of that. And yeah, so today what I wanted to do is open up the summer box and go through all of the supplies that are in it and kind of walk you through what all came in it, go over the different features of the supplies, and we'll swatch everything out, show you how it performs, and then we'll start a composition together, kind of as like a mini art snacks challenge. We'll see how much we can get through while also going over all the supplies. So let's dive right in. And to my overhead view, thank you very much. So in every box, you'll get a menu, and here it does go over some of the details about every supply. So that is super helpful, especially if a supply is new to you. You can get some ideas of what like it's really good to know if like your marker's water based or if it's not water based or different things about your supplies. So this will have a lot of the details in it, and I'll kind of be repeating some of the stuff that's on here, and I'll also dive a little bit deeper as well. And then something else that's in every box is a big sticker. So I just wanted to show you. It looks like this one kind of has some graphite like texture in the background, which is cool because our signature item that was in this box is this graphite crayon from Lyra or Lyra. I don't know. I'm going to say Lyra. And this the so the crayon is this big graphite stick that's on the inside, and then we also got a holder for it. And in case you uh, haven't dived into the supplies in your box yet, I'm just gonna show you how to put this in because I was a little confused when I first got it and didn't want anybody else to be confused. So um, this is, you can see, so it's water soluble, which is really cool. It's really chunky. This is 6B, if you can see the um, little, if the text might be a little small there, but it's a 6B. And if you're not familiar with like graphite grades, they go from H to B, and the H stands for like hardness, I think, and the B is for like darkness, like to like how close it gets to black. So the harder the pencil, like the easier it is to erase, and the lighter that it will show up on your paper. It's also less likely to break, but that isn't really a problem with this crayon. And then the closer to B, like the higher the number next to B is, the darker the crayon will be, and a little bit harder it will be to erase as well because it is like a creamier formula. So just keep that in mind. So for this holder, then kind of got off topic a little bit there, but this holder, you just need to push up on the end of it and extend, I guess these like the I don't know what to call those, but the grabbers, I guess, on that side, and you kind of have to push pretty far for to extend all of those to be able prongs. There we go. To be able to fit like the graphite all the way into there. So it can be a little tricky. I thought I was doing something wrong and I needed to like twist this or something. You don't need to do that. You just push the end of it and you can put it in. So it is a little bit tricky, but you can like push this all the way down into the barrel as far as you would like or wherever is comfortable. So that's a little tutorial in case you weren't sure, a little confused like me on how to like put this in there. Also, you can leave the paper on there. I tore my paper off on one of mine. I got a couple of these, so I tore the paper off of one of them, and then I had a couple different types of the graphite stick, and then I realized I was getting them confused. So I put some washi tape around the edge of my holder and wrote on it what grade graphite is. So if you happen to have multiple of these, or I know in our menu it talks about trying out some of your other art supplies that might fit in there. And if you need to remember what's in there, that might be a good thing, just to put a little bit of washi tape on there and mark what kind you're using. Um, but you can just leave the paper on there, and if you do that, then you can see what grade graphite is. So can be helpful as well. So there you go. That was kind of like our signature product this quarter. It's really fun. I'm really excited to do some portraiture stuff coming up in some later live streams with it. So look out for that. Um, and when we do the swatching, you'll see some of the really cool water soluble effects as well. So next is the King Art brush pens. These have a nylon brush tip, and they are water soluble as well, so they can be fanned out with water. Um, And what else did I want to say about them? They they also, oh yeah, you can blend it out with a wet brush as well. So the paper we got can take some water. It can take a light wash, but like not a bunch of water. So if you're going to be using these for like a true watercolor effect, I'd suggest using them on a different paper. But for like illustration and for like some light fanning out, it works perfectly good on this paper. And to fan out your brush pins and to activate your water soluble graphite, we got a water brush. And this is the Marabou Fluid Arts pen. And I have mine filled up with water, but you can also fill this up with like any kind of like liquid art medium. So you can put like ink in there or liquid watercolor or, experiment with mixing your own thing in there. So that's pretty fun. Um, Next, we got a Montana acrylic marker. I got, as you can see, I got all like a monochromatic blue situation going here. So that's pretty fun. You guys will have to tell me what color you got in your box. And then we also got a set of King Art fine liners. And so this came with, let me see here, 6 different nib sizes from 005 all the way to 08. And one of the things I really like about the King Art pens is that they have the little window where you can see the nib. I always love that on their supplies. And then talked a little bit about the paper, but it is the Van Gogh, let me see, the Van Gogh drawing and sketch paper from Royal Talons. And it has like a really light texture to it. And but it is thicker than, I would just say, like, uh, I don't know, like normal drawing paper. Like if it was just for pastel or something like that, it's like a little bit thicker than that, but not quite to like a watercolor mixed media weight. So I'd say it's a really nice, like light to medium weight paper. And then it's spiral bound, which I really like. And it has a perforated edge, so you can tear out pages if you want. But it also feels like sturdy enough that if you were keeping these, like if you didn't like fold it right on the perforation, these are going to stay in the spiral bound really well as well. So let's get to swatching. Just going to change the orientation of my paper pad here. And first, let's start with the graphite crayon. And you can kind of see the texture I was talking about with the paper there. So this is a very, very light pressure that I'm using right now. And you can see that it is pretty dark with that 6B graphite rating on it. And then lighter pressure. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to press really, really hard over here so you can kind of see how dark it can get. Oops, sorry, shaking my camera a little bit there. And it does have a nice shine to it. Kind of see that. And here is what happens when you hit it with some water. So it activates really easily. And you can see that the more pigment that you put down onto the page, the darker it's going to be. But this is so fun. I really love doing like a line drawing just in this and then like going back into it with water as like a second step. And then as a third step, once it dries, going back in with this to add texture into those darker areas, or just go in with a completely different supply. like a black marker or something, and like kind of work in layers with it. But yeah, super fun. You can see it looks really smoky. Um, and I'll just let that sit there so we can see how it dries. Um, but just a little close up for that right away. So that was the Lyra graphite crayon. Um, Lyra water soluble graphite crayon. Just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly so that if you want to go look it up in our shop, will go straight to the item. So um, that is that one. And I'm going to move on to the King Art Pro Color brush pens. And these came in these like 4 packs of little like harmonious color palettes that were like hand selected by the ArtSnacks team. So that's pretty cool. I got this like blue and gray color palette, but you'll have to let me know what color palette you got. I don't even know how many are out there, so definitely let me know. Did you get blue also, or did you get like a warm tones? Um, and I'm going to start with the darkest one here. And I kind of like when I like to test out brush pens, I do I try to change the weight, like the pressure I'm using on there, and do similar movements I do to when I letter. So I use like a light hand on the upstroke and then more pressure on the downstroke. So the nib on here is really great. If you're a letterer, and like to do the kind of calligraphy writing, you'll really like these. And again, this ink is water soluble. So you can fan it out a little bit with water, but I'd recommend more doing that on um, a different type of paper if you're going to really go for that effect. But you can use it a little bit on this paper, and we'll do a little bit of that in a minute. Just want to get all these colors down here. But it is kind of fun getting a whole like all blues. Especially I think I got all blues and they're all different shades, so they work really nicely together. All right, so those are my markers. And then next I will be testing out the Montana acrylic paint marker. And I do already have mine charged because I've been using it a bit. So what I recommend for paint markers is shaking them up really well is more important than um, pressing the tip of it over and over again. So just be patient when you're activating a marker, because if you ever have it happen where then like once it does activate, it's like way too much paint and all comes out too much. That's probably because you like pressed it up and down too many times. And focus more on shaking it until um, the tip is saturated with the paint rather than pressing it. You do need to press it a couple times on the paper, but definitely focus more on shaking it. So little paint marker tip for you. So there is the blue paint marker. And as you can see, it's like darker than my darkest um, King Art marker. So I have a nice value range there. And I think these are also water-based. So that's pretty cool. They're matte and they are refillable and the nibs are replaceable. Um, and in my experience, I have like a whole set of these in a lot of the colors. And in my experience, they've all been pretty opaque as well. I know the blue one is at least. And I think I have a little project I did all with, this was done all with the paint markers. And so they're pretty opaque because this was the color of that when I started. So um, pretty fun. Very good paint markers. And then last but not least is the King Art fine liners. Um, these fine liners are waterproof, which is helpful if you're going to be using them as like a base layer for any of your other water soluble media. So you can keep that in mind. And then is there something else? They're also says say goodbye to smudging and smearing. Um, and they gently glide across the paper with no skips, blots, or feathering, which has been my experience. So I will start from the smallest nib to the largest nib. So let's look at that here. Just going to do my same little squiggles I've been doing. So this is the 005 nib. Pretty small. Barely even see it there. And then this is 01. 02. 03. 05. And 08. All right. That's cool. I see I have a couple people that commented that they got the lime green, dark green, light pink, and dark pink markers. That's cool. I haven't seen that color combo. And then someone else got blue, green, yellow, and black for the King Art markers and red for the paint marker. Nice. Cool. I can't wait to see everyone post what they start making with all their color combos. And if you aren't already, we have our own community on Mix to post your work. And so Mix, I think Lee can put up a little blurb about how to join Mix if you haven't already. And then you can also join it. Yep, there you go, right down at the bottom. So mix.artsnacks.co. And you can also just go to the ArtSnacks website as well. And there should be an easy to find link if you want to go that route as well. And so it's free to join. It's just art snackers on there. It's really fun. And it's a nice, I always say that it's like the best corner of the internet. Everyone's so friendly and nice. And there's a huge range of like if you've been in art for a long time or you're totally new, there's a little bit of something for everyone there. And you can look at the watercolor snacks groups and the art journal snacks groups as well and see what people are doing in those subscriptions. I always love to look at art journal snacks because there's always like, I don't know, real crazy stuff going on there. It's real fun. And yeah, so definitely be posting what you're making in Mix. I'd love to see it. And I'm on there. You can find me. I'm on there. I think I'm on there as Caitlin Conti. I think my last name's on there, but I did just post today in there, so I should be easy to find um, if you go and want to explore. So I wanted to test out a couple more of the features of the water soluble media just so I can show you a little bit how it performs. And then we'll jump into a composition that kind of incorporates the supplies and we'll just see how far we get tonight. So I just wanted to show how this can be activated with water. And so I should have gotten some watercolor paper to show the difference in this, but you can see that it can be activated on there. I wouldn't say it's like super duper strong. I would definitely do it. I wouldn't let it sit and then try to activate it later, especially on this paper. I would try to like, if you're planning on activating it, kind of like draw a little bit, activate it, draw a little bit, activate it, so it doesn't have too much dry time. Um, and the water soluble graphite, however, you can draw with it, and then you could probably go back to it in like a year and activate um, the graphite. So, excuse me, I am recovering from a cold, so I apologize if I sound a little congested. Um, so, just same idea, and then I'm going to go around the outside and kind of fan it into the center. And we're going to be doing some like a little flower power illustration. So that's why I have the petal shape is on the mind. Um, but I wanted to show how you can kind of like keep going back to where you were making marks and keep picking up graphite from that and dragging it with the water. Um, and you can eventually, like if you had a spot that you wanted to completely fan out, you can. Let me make sure this has a good amount of water in it there. Um, so you can fan it out to where you almost cannot see like the pencil line as much. Like you can still see where my squiggle was, but um, you can like almost make it disappear. So I just wanted to point that out since this was a pretty dark mark. Let me see what this says. It says it didn't look like you needed to rinse the blue before you started with the black. Not too much. Like it said, this didn't like pick up a lot of pigment. If it was something where you really didn't want them to interact, I would definitely rinse it off. I'm less of a perfectionist when it comes to that kind of thing, and I kind of just let my uh art supplies uh kind of play with each other a little bit more. But if it was something where it was an area where you really didn't want them to interfere, you would want to rinse the brush. Um, uh, Let me show you so that you can see. If I would have just taken the brush straight to the white paper, it does still have some blue on it, but it's very light. So, wow, you can even barely see it on the camera. You can see it a little bit more in person. But, if you were going straight into, like, a white area, you know, or you were trying to activate the paper with water with this brush, before you were going in with, like, a watercolor or something, you probably wanna rinse it off a little bit, but, it probably would, just be sufficient to have a paper towel next to you just to, like, express some of the water from the brush, that should be, pretty good. I saw another question, can you just go color to color? And I think that was that in reference to not needing to rinse? Um, not sure. And then the link to mix, I can put it, I can have Lee put it back on screen, but it's mix.artsnacks.co, or you can go to artsnacks.co. There we go. Our host Lee there just put it in the chat, so should be able to find it. So can I just go, do you want me to show going color to color, or are you asking if you can just move from color to color without mixing the brush? Just let me know. But I will go ahead and show how all of the colors of these ones work, just in case that was the question. So let's do a little. So I'm just going to go through and activate all of these. And I'll kind of like scribble off on my brush just to show you how much is left on there. And I am squeezing my brush a little bit to express some of the water um, as I paint or right before I do a petal. So I'm just squeezing some more into the tip, but you don't want to do too much. See, on these lighter colors, it's even harder to tell. See how it looks on the gray. And see, I do have a little bit, you can't tell too much probably on screen, but it is a little bit blue. So yeah, so if you're okay with like a little bit of mixing, I would say you can just go from color to color. But if you want it to be totally seamless, I would at least have a paper towel by. How well do the colors blend with the King art markers? Let's find out. I'm gonna see, what should we do here? I'm gonna like do an ArtSnacks lettering. So I'm just gonna go to the lighter one. So I would say like on their own, they create a really nice gradient effect. And then we can try blending some of them together more as well. I'm gonna run out of room here. Ah! So ran out of room a little bit. So they do have a nice gradient effect with the color selection I have. And then if we're going to like, let's just say this is the dark blue, the darkest blue, I guess, and this is the lightest blue. And this is how it would look if you blended with water. And then if we just want to blend paper, this is how I blend with alcohol markers as well. I usually like start with one color and then drag the other color up. So there's two of the colors. This is medium blue and gray. And you can kind of layer on top of each other as well. Again, you might, depending on how much you're saturating the paper, want to be careful about that. But you can go over some of the lines you already did with like a second layer, and it will darken up the pigment there. So same with these. Yeah. So I hope that that answered the questions about the blending with the King art markers. Cool. I saw someone said hand lettering is one of the things that this box excited them for. Awesome. Well, I was thinking about doing a hand lettering live stream. So if there is enough interest, I'll definitely make that a priority. And let me know, like hand lettering can mean so many things. So if you have a specific interest of like kind of just like creative word art, or are you looking for more like brush style lettering, let me know Like, are you looking for more like illustrative letters or something closer to calligraphy? And you can let me know. And I will curate a lesson towards that. And you can post about it on Mix too, see if other people are interested in it. I'm going to start like a little composition using some of the art supplies and just talk about what I'm doing as I work through it. Excuse me. And then definitely let me know along the way if you have questions about what I'm doing or if you have questions about any of the products or really just about ArtSnacks in general or Mix or anything like that. So just let me know. So I'm going to kind of do this like layered flower power type um, illustration. And I'm going to start off by drawing in where I want all of the centers of the flowers to be. And I'm trying to fill up the page as much as possible because I'm going to color the background and I don't like to use I don't want like a bunch of empty space where I'm going to be coloring in the background for a long time. So I can do that. And then I'm just going to kind of start randomly and start drawing these petals. Really, we're doing real simple. And I'm using the Lyra graphite crayon as kind of like my sketching pencil right now. Do be aware that this doesn't erase very easily. I should have pointed that out. Hold on. So just be careful with that. I wanted to show I do have an eraser here. And so it does erase like when it's lightly used, but I would say the harder that you press down with it, like here in this darker area, it's going to be hard to erase all the way. And then once it's activated with water, it doesn't erase at all. Like I would say hardly at all. Yeah, I'm not picking up anything. So there you go. Wanted to, it was so important. I even set out an eraser to be able to demo that. So be aware of that. I am not going to be too strict about this illustration right now, and I'm okay with some pencil lines coming through. So that's why I'm fine with using this as my sketching pencil. I'm going to use this again later in the composition as well to darken up some areas. And I am going to draw in some of the places where petals would overlap, but I'm also going to just omit the petals completely on some of the places where they would overlap, just to make the drawing look more stylized. And you'll kind of see what I mean as we go. So like here, I'm going to draw this petal, but I'm going to like leave out a bunch of these. And the idea is more just to have a lot of petals and kind of a lot going on. This is a more is more kind of situation. And this pencil is just really fun to use because of the grip and the size of it. So I don't know. It's always fun drawing with like a big crayon. If you like the Stabilo, like woody pencils, I feel like that's another good chunky pencil that's fun to draw with.
Hey, Caitlin, this is Lee. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello.
It's looking great. Just letting you know that we're about halfway through this live stream.
Great. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So I'm going to get all these flowers sketched out, and then we're going to go into doing some next steps on here. And if I don't get to all the steps, I do have a finished example. Um, so I'll be able to show that to you guys and show you what the other steps would be. And then I'll also create a post on Mix, kind of going over the composition. So I kind of like this. It's going to turn out looking like a cool, like top down, uh, like if you were looking into like a bed of flowers. Because we're gonna, because of the overlapping and kind of the shadow effects and how some of the petals are omitted, it's going to give the effect that there's a lot of depth here. And this one kind of feels out of place now because I won't be able to draw too many petals, but we will see. That should look fine. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go in with my Montana marker, give it a good shake. And I'm going to draw the center of all of these flowers. And I'm just doing some dots, and I'm varying the size of the dot randomly. So I'm doing some small dots and some big dots. It's like it's kind of hard to draw something really summery because I'm in Seattle right now and it does not feel like summer. It is what we call January because it is pretty cold and rainy right now. Although this afternoon the sun did come out a little bit, but it has been rainy all day. But I was trying to think of something a little bit, more of the season to draw. Okay, so I got all the centers there, and then I'm also going to outline all of my flower petals as well. And if you're recreating this illustration with your own supplies, you don't have to use like your paint marker for the outline or whatever. You can kind of switch it up. I actually did this composition a couple times to figure out what the color palette would work best. And one of the ones I did first was coloring the background with my paint marker. And it turned out okay. I think I could probably show you guys how it turned out after this. But um, I didn't love just like coloring with the paint marker for that long on the background. I liked using the King Art pens were like a lot quicker. So definitely you can change it up if you want to use a different supply. I think also using the graphite for the background or the flower petals would be really cool too. See a lot of people sounding off about the weather in chat. Um, oh, Port Townsend, Washington, represent. Nice. And then, yes, I'll try to send you guys some rain in the warmer regions. Um, I think it's kind of like a thing in Seattle that most people say that summer doesn't start in Seattle until after July 4th. And then after July 4th, it's kind of like stays warm for a while. But I did also read that we're supposed to have a cooler summer this year, so we'll see what happens come July 4th. It's just around the corner. So as you can see, I since I started this, I haven't uh shaked up shook up my pen again, nor have I depressed the tip of it again. This is just how this paint marker performs. It's very opaque, um, and has really good flow as well. So make sure that's still on camera. If you have had the chance to play around with your supplies, feel free to comment what you've been drawing with them lately, what you've experimented with. I really I'm excited for the weather to come because I really like that all of these supplies are very like on the go friendly. So it's good for that nicer weather starting. So you can like kind of pop these in a bag, bring them to the park, and be able to use these on the go really well. Okay. So now that I got that part done, I'm going to reach for my darkest King Art marker, which if you remember from my swatches is a little bit lighter than my paint marker. And I'm just going to do some detail lines in these petals. And again, this is like a quick, fun illustration. I'm not thinking about this being too realistic. Um, just trying to add in a little bit more visual interest to these petals. And I'm kind of just using like a medium line weight, trying not to press too hard so like I don't cover up all the white area of the flower. But this is a fun, like if you just need something to kind of like zone out and do, kind of a fun repeating pattern to draw. All right, just a couple left. Okay, I will get to that question about the pens in just a second. So the question is, what is best practice for storing the pens? Does it matter if they lay flat or go in a cup tip up or tip down? Um, so these ones do not say specifically how you should store them, like in our menu. And sometimes our menu will point out how you should store a pen if it like comes with like if it's like a spec of the pen. These ones didn't say on them. And let me just double check. Thought I had the packaging over. Oh, I do have the packaging over here. So yes, these ones don't say, I
Caitlin, are you there?
believe. Yes.
So,
But go ahead.
no, go ahead. Good. Is this
Oh,
something in the
I was
package?
just gonna say, as far as for me, best practice is I store all of my pens horizontally. Um, because that's just how I found that they perform. I don't like storing pens tip up because I do think that that does kind of drain the tip of ink. I probably not every pen is affected by that, but just that's just how like my default for all pens now are to store them horizontally because I think performance is better. And if you're having trouble with the tip being dry, you can try storing down for like a couple hours or something before you were to use the pen, maybe if it's running low on ink.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. So,
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
said.
Thanks. Especially like I like again, I don't know what you'll find with these pens specifically. But something I've noticed about like jelly rolls, storing horizontally is like a game changer for those ones. If you've ever like had like a gel pen, like really, I guess I use jelly rolls a lot, so um that's my like experience. But if you have problems with gel pens going dry, it probably is the way that you store them. So storing horizontally or before you want to use a gel pen that you haven't used in a while, then storing the tip down and like the day before or something and then going in can make a big difference. So um, yeah, that's and if you keep your ArtSnacks boxes, like the big ArtSnacks boxes are really good. If you have really big drawers, they're good drawer organizers. And if you were a subscriber from years past where they've used the smaller boxes, those also make really good storage containers. I always just like rip off the top lid to my ArtSnacks boxes and put them in drawers and organize my art supplies that way. So um, yeah, that's a really good question, though. I don't think I've gotten that question on stream before. Um, okay, so next step I want to do is just a little bit of my medium blue. I'm just going to add that into my flower, uh, but not as much as the dark blue. But every now and then, if there's like a pen where it's like really particular about how it's stored, it will have storage instructions in the menu sometimes. So just adding in a little bit of the medium blue just to have a little bit more variation in the color. All right. And so now I'm going to take my lightest blue color and I'm going to start filling in the background. And this is actually pretty quick work since you can use the side of this pen with like a thicker, um, it has like thicker coverage. So it doesn't take that long to color in. And I'm also I'm not dragging my pen back and forth. I'm lifting and just dragging down to color in that background area. And I'm also trying not to go over the mark next to it, so that it's as flat of a color as possible. Because if you go over these, like we saw when I was swatching them out, they do get darker as you go over them with layers. What supply is your favorite to work with so far out of this box and why? That is a great question. I would have to say the Lyra graphite um, water soluble crayon. Um, I had never used a water soluble crayon before. I'd used water soluble graphite, but the form factor of this one is just really fun to use and really comfortable. Um, I also I've used water soluble graphite that's a lot lighter before, and I have never used one that's like a 6B rating. And so um, I personally like drawing with like a higher B graphite anyway. So that has been really fun. I've done a couple different portraits using it. And Yeah, I guess that's the one I'm having, like, the most fun with. I like any supply that makes me wanna kinda go back to my, like, art school roots and, like, do something technical is really fun, to just kinda, like, go back and do, like, portraiture or something. Um, so I like that about it. Um, Something else, I think I posted this on Mix, and I definitely posted it on Instagram. Um that my daughter, she's 2.5, she was just, like, taking the graphite crayon and scribbling with it on a piece of paper, and then later, I took her drawing and then went over it just with a water brush and, like, drew a new design, like, in the scribbles, um, and that was really fun. So, I don't know, kind of, endless opportunities there with the graphite crayon, so have to say that is my favorite. And I love when ArtSnacks includes stuff like the nib holder um, in the box. So I don't know, because that's probably something if I had like gotten one of those and then like went to the art store, I probably would have been like, oh, that's really cool, but that seems kind of fancy. And like I don't know if I would have gotten it. But it's something I would have really wanted. So I always like seeing stuff like that in the box. Um, Yeah, I like it's fun because Art Snacks is like art supplies, but it's also we get a lot of like art tools, like erasers and cool pencil sharpeners and different stuff like that. So it's always cool to see like what's new in the art like gadgets world as well. I do need to experiment using the holder with some of my other art supplies. So if anybody's done that, you should let me know. Okay, so we colored in the whole background. There we go. Can kind of turn that. And my next step is going to be taking a fine liner, and you can pick whatever one you like. I like working with a bigger fine liner, so I'm going to use the 08. And I'm just going to be creating like hash marks also on like the in between areas just to like darken that area up. So some of them I think I'll do like hatching, and then some of them will have cross hatching as well, just depending on how dark I want to make the area. Can't wait to be all the way over this cold. It's just kind of lingering on a bit. And I am going to go over these areas again with the graphite crayon to make them even more shadowy. But adding in these lines just like adds another layer to the visual texture. And I don't know. It also kind of adds to like the stylization of this since we're like leaving off some petals and not super realistic. Oh, nice. Saw someone else said they love collaborating with their 3-year-old granddaughter. Oh, that's awesome. So fun. I can't wait to see what my daughter is going to be into art-wise. She's so little right now. It's kind of mostly like markers or really anything I'm using. Um, but she already holds a pencil way better than me. I kind of have like a weird grip on my pens, and she's like has a very formal grip, which I think is funny. Um, she does have her own set of the Stabilo pencils, which I think are an amazing art supply for every age. So I want to pay attention mostly to like these areas where like there's a lot overlapping or where I have missing petals, because that is where like ideally it would be dark enough that like we can't really see those petals. So that's where you kind of want to darken those areas up. And again, I'm not being too precise with my line work. Let me see. I think I'll just add a little bit right here. All right, and then now I'm going to go back to this graphite pencil, and I'm going to start shading some areas even more where it would be darker. So I'm going to start with the background, and then we're also going to move to the petals as well. So going to darken up this area, and I would say I'm going to start with like a light pressure and move up to a medium pressure because this is going to be the darkest area of my composition. So I do want to make sure that um, it's a really light pressure on the petals. So I need to make sure that there's going to be a difference in that value structure to make this part darker than the part I'm going to be using on the top of the flower. Since it's on top, it's going to be a little bit lighter. So um, this is what would be called pushing the value scale. So make sure your darks are darks and your lights are light. And then kind of after I do this first pass, I'm going to step back, or not not actually step away, but kind of look back at it and make sure that that value structure is looking good before I move on to my petals. But I do love how quickly I was able to color the background with the King Art markers. Just like turning the nib on its side a bit and getting that like really thick line. And then not needing to go over it at all because the ink has pretty good coverage. It's really nice. I'm mostly just using small and medium small uh, circles, like circular motions to do this shading.
Hey, Caitlin, it's Lee.
Hello.
Looking great. What do you think? Like 10 more minutes, you think?
Yeah, that would probably be perfect.
Okay, great.
So I'm just going to be finishing up this kind of shading underneath. And then I'll show you how I started to shade the petals. So I could definitely go and add even more. This is like one of those things, it's like once you start, it's hard to stop. It's like which step to stop on. You could probably just keep going in with more and more detail on each layer. Let me see here. So I think it's looking okay to me. I think I could go even darker. When I'm looking at it like on screen, it's showing up a little bit lighter because the graphite it's a little shiny. So like when I tip it this way, you can kind of see the value structure a little bit more because the light's not hitting it. So now I'm going to be looking to the flower and I'm going to be shading any petals that are overlapping. So overlapping on itself or overlapping with another flower. So this petal is underneath this petal. So it's going to be a little bit darker right here. I'm using a light pressure. And then it's also underneath this petal. So I need to shade around it right here. And this is where I needed to be careful not to make the background like I needed to make it kind of dark because otherwise these two things are going to start looking like the same value. So if you're working on it and you see that that's happening, you can just go to that background and then like darken it up a little bit more around here to make sure that everything is still layering nicely. And then I'm just going to go around and do that to every petal that I see that's in the back and darken up the background as needed. Moving my paper around a bunch as I'm doing this. Just making sure it's staying on camera. So that one is pretty good. Okay. So Lee did come on and mention that we are going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. So if you had any lingering questions, feel free to drop them in chat or make sure that you are on Mix and you can drop questions in there too. And you can all be there to answer them. Lee will be there to answer them, or just members of the community as well. Yeah, just make sure to check it out. And then the live stream schedule is also posted in there with our upcoming events this summer. So that is when you can catch me again here on YouTube. And I saw Lee just put the link down below for Mix again, so you can see that there on the banner. Okay, so I'm done shading that, and again, it looks a little bit better when I tip it away from my light source here. And I'm also just gonna like bring this up just a bit so you can see it expanded. And this looks very, very, I mean, it looks very blue in person. It's extremely blue with like, I have like a pretty cool toned light down here. So um, this was my practice run. And you can kind of see that like I darkened up the background a lot more than I did on this one in certain areas. So it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's just like a fun kind of like jumping off point to give you guys for the summer box um, to kind of like dig into the supplies and use them. I'm excited to use these supplies, especially the water soluble graphite, and explore using our water brush more. I know we didn't use it like a bunch tonight, but I definitely will be doing that in an upcoming live stream. And I did say that I would show you what it looked like when I kind of swapped up some of the supplies for my value scale here. And so this was using the paint marker in the background. And everywhere where it's a little streaky, that was just me being like, I was like rushing through it, but it was like taking so long. Um, and I, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have used the marker. So I went back and did it with the marker. But and I also did some more like detail with the pens, the fine liners and stuff. So definitely have fun with it. This is another little space composition I was playing around with. But yeah, that is the Art Snacks quarterly summer box. Let me just flip to this last page. And again, join us on Mix. Post what you're creating and post any questions that you might have for me or the Art Snacks team. Um, and it was really fun hanging out with everyone tonight. So I'll let, I think Lee might kind of, yeah, log back on uh, to sign us off, or if he had anything else to say. But um, yeah, super fun hanging out with everyone. And I look forward to seeing what everyone posts in their group and seeing everyone's color palettes from their box as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I will see you guys on Mix and or in the next live stream. So I will see you guys.